All right, members, we'll rise back to session. When we went to recess, we were under public comments, but before we move forward, I'd like to recognize the presence of our youth senators and congratulations on your first session after inauguration. Thank you for being here. So under public comments, before the power went out, Miss Amber Mendiola, I don't know what she touched at the podium, but it killed the power. Anyways, the floor is open, and please, again, for the record, state your name and the entity you represent. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Let's hope that my powers that be don't start this again. Again, for the record, my name is Amber Mendiola, and I am the administrator of our Non-Communicable Disease Bureau under the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation. Would you like me to start off from where I left off, or start again? For the youth senator. Okay, great. Okay, let's all cross fingers. Okay, so again, according to the 2016 NCD Hybrid Survey, 1 out of every 4 adults smokes cigarette. The report also shows that 1 out of every 5 adults chew betel nut, and majority of those that chew with tobacco. Data from the 2019 Youth Risk Behavioral Survey shows that more kids are trying cigarettes in middle school and sometimes even earlier. Tobacco use is still one of the main leading causes of diseases and deaths in the CNMI. Current research shows us that tobacco is also a risk factor for hypertension, diabetes, heart disease, cancer. Some of these things you wouldn't even think tobacco is related to until you actually see the research. Research from international and national organizations also showcases that increasing tobacco taxes can decrease use, especially among our youth. So the last time we spoke on this, we also heard from subject matter experts who shared the economic, social, and health benefits of supporting healthier lifestyles. We've recently seen that to combat terrible weather, a pandemic, or just stress from an ever-changing environment, personal health is very essential. That was a pun on words that mean the same thing. Implementing positive strategies and strategic changes in the environment through policy and systems, such as improving the built environment, having healthier meal options at restaurants, banning the sales of alcohol and tobacco in stores situated around schools, and taxing unhealthy products can create enhanced quality of life, not just for an individual, but for the entire community. Please feel free to reach out to us at the NCD Bureau should you need more information or would like to get copies of either of the reports that I was just mentioning earlier. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mendiola. The floor is still open.
Good afternoon. Well, I'm just going to adjust this mic. Amber's a little bit shorter than me. My name is Caitlin Nisus. I'm the Special Assistant for Policy, Sustainability, and Development at the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation. As an advocate for evidence-based health policy, the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation supports House Bill 2254. This bill would bring tobacco taxation to the evidence-based level to maximize public health and significantly increase the proportion of tobacco taxes which go to health promotion, education, services, and systems changes. These strategies are not only in line with tobacco control best practices, but this funding commitment would be a testament to this body's vision for a healthier CNMI. Beyond the positive health impact of reduced tobacco use, HB 2254 would generate significant revenue. In April of 2020, a 4-day broad-based fiscal summit was held, bringing together key individuals in leadership positions throughout the CNMI. The goals of the summit were to identify solutions to the CNMI's fiscal crisis. One of these solutions, this nonpartisan cross-sector group came up with, was a $1 increase on cigarettes and tobacco products. The proposed increases on cigarettes and tobacco House Bill 2254 would reach this goal within 3 years, allowing for gradual incremental implementation. A common argument against tobacco tax increases used by tobacco industry lobbyists is that with higher taxes, illicit trade would undermine the intent of the tobacco tax and have no effect on tobacco use. Evidence shows, however, the experience from a broad range of countries that have increased revenues have still reduced tobacco use through taxation, even in the presence of illicit trade. The illicit trade argument should not stand in the way of tax increases to protect public health. Administrative measures should be strengthened to effectively tackle illicit trade, and appropriately, House Bill 2254 earmarks 5% of the Tobacco Control Fund for the implementation, collection, and enforcement of taxes assessed on cigarettes and other tobacco products. Thanks very much to the members of the Ways and Means Committee for their hard work and appropriate conclusion on this bill. And thank you to all members here for your time and attention this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Floor is still open. All right, since there are no more public comments, we now move down to item number 3, the adoption of journals, and I recognize the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under item 3, adoption of journals, we have one item, first day, second special session journal dated May 28, 2021.
Thank you, clerk. I now recognize the floor leader for the motion to adopt journals.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I now offer a motion to adopt first day, second special session journal dated May 28, 2021. So moved.
A motion has been made by the floor leader and has been seconded. Any discussion? Ready? Okay, all in favor to adopt first day, second special session journal, May 28, 2021, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Journal has been adopted. We now move down to item number 4, introduction of bills. I now recognize Representative Patrick San Nicolas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm officially introducing House Bill number 22-71 to amend Public Law 21-1, Section 2 to reappropriate $60,000 to the office of the Mayor of Tinan and Negiguan and for other purposes provided by myself.
Thank you, Representative San Nicolas. I now recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can we get the representative to request?
Thank you, Mr. Floor Leader. May I request the floor leader to put in again?
Floor leader,
Thank
you're
you so
hereby
much.
recognized.
Thank you, Representative Patrick San Nicolas. And now offer a motion to suspend Rule 9, Section 8, referrals of bills and resolutions. So moved.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made by the floor leader to suspend Rule 9, Section 8, and it has been seconded. Any discussion? Ready? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 22-71 now moves to the bill calendar. Thank you very much, members. And we now move down to House local bills. I now recognize Representative Patrick San Nicolas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Officially introducing House Local Bill number 22-11 to reappropriate $40,000 allotted under Tinan Local Law 20-15, Section 2G of the office to the office of the Mayor of Tinan and Negiguan and for other purposes. I would request to put this on the calendar.
That's a nice request, but since it's a local bill, it'll go directly to the Tinian local delegation. So maybe you
Thank
can,
you, Mr. Speaker.
maybe you can request the floor leader over there to. We're all learning. Even to this day, I'm still learning as well. All right, I now recognize the Vice Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Formally introducing House Local Bill 22-11 to reappropriate 40, oh, sorry, to appropriate my apologies, Mr. Speaker. House Local Bill number 22-12 to appropriate 560,000 from revenues collected for the third senatorial district pursuant to Saipan Local Law 20-59 and for other purpose introduced by myself and several others. And I welcome all the members from the third senatorial district to join in this local bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. I now recognize Representative John Paul Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Officially introducing House Local Bill number 22-13, titled to amend Section 413 of the Saipan Zoning Law of 2013 as amended to allow for concrete hollow block manufacturing for conditional use within village commercial zones and for other purposes. Introduced by myself. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative John Paul Sablan. I now recognize Representative Patrick San Nicolas to introduce
Thank you,
an
Mr.
unnumbered
Speaker.
bill.
I'd like to officially reintroduce House Local Bill number to reappropriate $62,999 under Tinian Local Law 22-2, Section 2B, and for other purposes.
Thank you, Representative San Nicolas. Any other local bills to be introduced? None? Okay, we'll move down to item number 5, introduction of resolutions. The chair would like to introduce House Resolution 22-9 to honor and commend the United States Coast Guardsmen that have served the CNMI under the leadership of Admiral Carl L. Schultz. I would like to introduce this resolution if there's no objection as the committee of the whole.
No objection?
All right, thank you, members. House Resolution 22-9 will be placed on calendar for action today. We now move down to item number 6, messages from the governor. I now recognize the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under item 6, messages from the governor, we have Governor's Communication 22-37 to Governor's Communication 22-40.
Thank you, clerk. Any comments or discussions on governor's communication? Recognize Representative Angel Demapan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And this is in reference to Governor's Communication 20-39. I just want to express my appreciation again to all of our colleagues in the House and the members of the Senate and the administration for supporting House Bill 22-21 HD1, which was recently enacted into Public Law 22-1. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Demapan. Any further discussion? Recognize Representative Pro.
Thank you, Speaker and colleagues. I guess no one's going to say it, but I'm just going to call it out. I do want to comment on Governor's Communication 22-38. Mr. Speaker, I want to just say that I am deeply concerned with this salary. It is well above the salary cap, and I have heard from others that say, well, if this is the U.S., his counterparts would be making a lot more. We're not in America right now, and our salaries don't even compare to our counterparts in Guam. So I am concerned about this because once ARPA dries up in 2 years and we have all these, if this pattern continues, where we see salaries well above the salary cap, my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, what are we going to see in 2 years from now? We're going to see furloughs again, unless tourism is restored and everything is peachy, but that's not the projections that we're seeing right now. It's going to take a while. So at a time when we're supposed to be fiscally conservative, at a time when we called for House Bill 22-33 to ensure that we are, we have the power of the purse and are appropriating what is going out with ARPA, with regard to ARPA spending. We're not doing that right now because of this tie-up in the Senate, because of whatever excuse it is. But I am concerned about if this continues, we will see massive furloughs in 2 years. And who's going to be kept? The ones that are making those high salaries, while all our front lines that are making very low, meager salaries are going to be expendable? This is deeply concerning. We have to be unified in this and say, Mr. Governor, I'm sorry, but you cannot continue to spend like there's no tomorrow. We have 2 years of this wonderful gift to spend, but it is unfair to those who have worked 20 to 30 years in the CNMI, and they're getting a bump from what, what is it, two steps? Is that the plan for the next 2 years? That's great. That's great that they're finally getting that. But again, is it sustainable? Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, we have to come together and address this if this type of spending and abuse continues. I didn't even know this. I have friends too that would have loved to apply for this position. Was it even announced? Did anybody know about it? I have friends and relatives that maybe could qualify for it. This type of selection too is deeply concerning. I feel that we have called out in the past on those that went above the salary cap. We have to continue to do so. And I appreciate my colleague Lee Pon for even calling, Congressman Lee Pon for calling that out in the past. But he's not the only one that should be doing this. It should also be myself and everyone else. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Probst. Recognize Representative Sheila Babauta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Rep. Probst, for commenting on Governor's Communication 22-38. My comments are in response to this communication as well, and I think that this is an ongoing issue that we face here in this chamber, and so I would like to recommend to the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee that we call in the Civil Service Commission for a budget hearing. And so I just wanted to state that for the record, Mr. Speaker. I think this is a good time to call in the Civil Service Commission. I think these are good topics to discuss with them because the workforce in our government is huge and it employs many of our local people, Indigenous, Chamorro, and Carolinian people. And when it comes to announcing the job positions, salary increases, training, this is our HR department of the government. And so I really would like to make that recommendation to the chair of the Ways and Means Committee. And as a member, I support that recommendation. And so I do hope that we call the Civil Service Commission in, and I will be prepared to ask questions in regards to this matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Sheila Babauta. Any more discussions under Governor's Communication? Ready? Recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Sheila and Representative Probst, for raising these issues. I do support calling in the Civil Service Commission and the Office of Personnel Management, since both those agencies, I think we would benefit from hearing from them and listening to their concerns as well. And secondly, I wanted to comment on Governor's Communication 2240. So this is the ARPA spending plan that the Secretary of Finance, or the administration, I guess, presented on a little over a week ago. And they did say several times that they would be willing to sit down with every department and agency and branch that wanted to sit down with them and hopefully receive feedback, but also to answer our questions. And I'd like to urge, Mr. Speaker, that we take them up on that offer as soon as possible, and perhaps join with the Senate and invite the administration to come in to sit at the table with all of us in this chamber, so that we could go over the ARPA spending plan in greater detail and propose our own recommendations as a body. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Sablan. Any more discussions? Ready? All right. We now move down to item number 7, Senate Communications. I now recognize the clerk.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Under item 7, Senate Communications, we have 2 items, Senate Communication 22-22 and Senate Communication 22-23.
Thank you, clerk. I now recognize the floor leader for the motion to accept Senate Communications.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I now offer a motion to accept, or that the House accept Senate Communication 22-22 and 22-23 to become the property of the House. So moved.
Thank you, Floor Leader. A motion has been made by the Floor Leader to accept Senate Communications, and it has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready? Okay, all in favor to accept Senate Communications, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. We now move down to item number 8, House Communications. I recognize the clerk.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Under item 8, House Communications, we have 3 items. House Communication 22-19, 22-20, and 22-21.
Thank you, clerk. Any discussions under House Communications? On House Communications 22-19, I just want to inform. Oh, my apologies. Recognize Representative Ivan Blanco.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just want to personally extend the family's gratitude for all your prayers and thoughts on House Communication 22-20. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and members.
Thank you, Representative Blanco. For House Communication 22-19, I'd just like to inform the members that the matter has been referred to the Committee on JGO. Any further discussions? Ready? All right, members. Item number 9, Communications for Judicial Branch. Clerk?
There's none, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Clerk. Item number 10, Communications from Department and Agencies.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Under item 10, Communications from Departments and Agencies, we have 1 item, Department and Agency Communication 22-21.
Thank you, Clerk. Any discussion under Communications from Department and Agencies? Ready? Yeah, I'd like to refer Department and Agency Communication 22-21 to the Committee of NR. We now move down to item number 11, Miscellaneous Communications. I recognize the clerk.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Under item 11, Miscellaneous Communications, we have 4 items. Miscellaneous Communication 22-34 to 22-37.
Thank you, Clerk. Any discussion under Miscellaneous Communications? Recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Yeah, thank you. On Miscellaneous Communication 2234, just for the members' awareness, the Saipan Municipal Council will be visiting the House once again on next week, Tuesday, June 22nd. They wanted to just share more information about their proposed projects and programs. And so for any members here who are interested in joining, it will be in the speakers conference room at 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Tina Sablan. Under Miscellaneous Communication 22-34, I'd like to refer that to the Committee on Ways and Means, just for reference. Without any further discussion, I'd like to move down to item number 12, Reports of Standing Committee, and I recognize the clerk.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Under item 12, Reports of Standing Committees, we have 6 standing committees ready for adoption for the House action.
Thank you, Clerk. I now recognize the floor leader for the proper motion. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll offer a motion to adopt House Standing Committee Report 22-12, reporting on House Bill 22-10, entitled to prohibit the use of certain disposable food service containers. Your House Committee on Commerce and Tourism recommends that the House pass House Bill 22-10 in its current form. So move.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made by the floor leader to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-12, and it has been seconded. Any discussion? Ready? Okay. All in favor to adopt Standing Committee Report number 22-12, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Standing Committee Report 22-12 is hereby adopted. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll offer a motion to adopt House Standing Committee Report 22-13, reporting on House Bill 22-12 to amend 4 CMC subsection 51-420B to authorize the Secretary of Commerce to establish and promulgate reasonable registration and permitting fees through adopted regulation and for other purposes. Your House Committee on Commerce and Tourism recommends that the House pass House Bill 22-12 in its current form. So move.
Thank you, Floor Leader. A motion has been made by the Floor Leader to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-13, and it has been seconded. Any discussion? Ready? Okay. All in favor to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-13, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Standing Committee Report 22-13 is hereby adopted. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll offer a motion to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-14, reporting on House Bill 22-18, entitled to amend Division 4 of Title 6 of the Commonwealth Code relating to disposition of offenders and sentencing to provide criteria for imposition of enhanced sentencing of defendants of crimes motivated by hate. Your House Committee on Judicial and Governmental Operation recommends that the House pass the bill in the form of House Bill 22-18 HD1. So move.
Thank you, Floor Leader. A motion has been made by the Floor Leader to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-14 and has been seconded. Any discussion? Ready? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Standing Committee Report 22-14 is hereby adopted. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll offer a motion to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-15, reporting on House Bill 22-29, entitled to amend 1 CMC subsection 121 in order to eradicate unconstitutional public purpose presumption for legislative expenditures. Your House Committee on Judicial and Governmental Operations recommends that the House pass House Bill 22-29 in its current form. So move.
Thank you, Floor Leader. A motion has been made to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-15 and it has been seconded. Any discussion? Ready? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Standing Committee Report 22-15 is hereby adopted. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll offer a motion to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-16, reporting on Senate Bill 22-40, entitled to protect the people of the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS contamination. Your House Committee on Health and Welfare recommends that the House pass the bill in its form, SB 22-40 HD1, and so move. And I apologize for my pronunciation.
Thank you, Floor Leader. I think that's better than if I were to try to pronounce it. A motion has been made by the Floor Leader to adopt Standing Committee Report number 22-16 and has been seconded. Any discussion? Ready? Okay. All those in favor to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-16, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Standing Committee Report number 22-16 is hereby adopted. Floor Leader.
Thank you. And last on our list, Mr. Speaker, and I'll offer a motion to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-17, reporting on House Bill 22-54, entitled to update the definition of tobacco products in the CNMI excise tax laws, bring tobacco tax rates to the recommended level, set tobacco tax rates to increase with inflation, and to invest in tobacco tax revenues in health promotion and disease prevention and control programs in the CNMI and for other purposes. Your House Committee on Ways and Means recommends that the House pass House Bill 22-54 in its current form. So move.
Thank you, Floor Leader. A motion has been made to adopt Standing Committee Report number 22-17 and has been seconded. Any discussion? Ready? Okay, all those in favor to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-17, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Standing Committee Report 22-17 is hereby adopted. Thank you, Floor Leader. We move down to item number 13. We have none. Item number 14, unfinished business. We have none. We now move down to item number 15, resolution calendar, and I recognize the Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have one, I believe, House Resolution 22-9, and I offer a motion to adopt House Resolution 22-9, a House resolution to honor and commend the United States Coast Guardsmen that have served in the Sinamay under leadership Admiral Carl Solch. So move.
Thank you, Floor Leader. A motion has been made to adopt House Resolution 22-9 and has been seconded. Any discussion? Ready? Okay, all those in favor to adopt House Resolution 22-9, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Resolution 22-9 is hereby adopted. Thank you. We now move down to item number 16, bill calendar, and I recognize the Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And first, before we go to our first bill, I'd like to offer a motion to suspend Rule 7, Section 9, committee reports on other documents, and Rule 9, Section 9 and 10. So move.
A motion has been made by the Floor Leader to suspend pertinent rules, and it has been seconded. Any discussion? Ready? Okay, all those in favor to suspend the rules, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Motion has been adopted. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now for a motion to adopt House Bill 22-71, a bill for an act to amend Public Law 21-1, Section 2, to reappropriate $60,000 to the office of the Mayor of Tinian and Aguigan and for other purposes. So move.
Thank you, Mr. Floor Leader. A motion has been made by the Floor Leader to pass, right? Floor Leader?
That's correct.
Thank you, Floor Leader. To pass House Bill number 22-71, and it has been seconded. Any discussion? Ready? Recognize Representative or Vice Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to assist our good colleague from the second senatorial district on this legislation and the need for the senatorial district to receive these monies. As we're all aware, this is a public law that we're trying to amend, monies that are dedicated to the second senatorial district back in the 20th legislature under Public Law 20-61. So under Public Law 20-61, which was an omnibus appropriation of approximately, I believe it was $40 million that was distributed to the Commonwealth entities and municipalities. This specific amount of money was dedicated to the second senatorial district under Public Law 20-61. And as it's amending Public Law 21-1, 21-1 just took the portion of the second senatorial district and obligated those funds for the second senatorial district. This $60,000 that's being amended for under 21-1 was never used to purchase the vehicles for the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs, I believe the Aging Center of Tinian. 2020-61 became public law back in October of 2018. And as we all remember, U2 hit a few weeks after that. So these monies were never expended. And when they were able to start using the funds under the local level, the coronavirus hit the Sinamay. So a lot of the monies were on hold to move on to projects, provided that that we took care of our healthcare needs due to the coronavirus. Therefore, the funds that is being appropriated under 22-71 by Representative San Nicolas from the second senatorial district is the monies for the vehicles that will be addressing the municipals issues there on the second senatorial district. As we all are aware, there's ARPA money that's coming in, and it'll get trickled down to the municipal level. Unfortunately, those monies are not yet distributed, and these funds are needed for the second senatorial district to address their municipal employees and their municipal projects. So with that, I hope that's enough explanation for the members that we support this legislation, Mr. Speaker, and I'm ready to vote on it.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. I recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify if we should properly be amending Public Law 2061 or Public Law 21-1. Because the findings states that the intention is to amend 21-1, but then the actual operative language, oh, I see. So we're doing both. We're amending Public Law
Yes,
21-1
well,
and Public Law 2061.
May I, Mr.
Recognize
Speaker?
Vice Speaker.
21-1 is amending Public Law 20-61. So they just took that specific portion for the second senatorial district under
Okay.
21-1. Therefore, the amendment that we're taking care of is going to be reflective on 21-1 because the funds were secluded from the original 20-61.
Right, and we're just reappropriating 60,000 for personnel and operations.
Yes.
And, just for the record, I understand that you do have the certification of
Yes.
funds from the Secretary of Finance.
And I'm not sure if all the members got it, but we got the certification of funds here. The fund status for that specific amount of 60,000 is still there and has not been distributed. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. Thank you, Representative Tina Sablan. Any further discussion? Ready? Okay, Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Vada,
Yes.
Representative Patel,
Yes.
Representative Selena Babalta,
Yes.
Representative Sheila Babalta,
Yes.
Representative Blanco,
Yes.
Representative Joel Komatsu,
Yes.
Representative Vicente Komatsu,
Yes.
Representative Demapan,
Good.
Representative Flores,
Yes.
Representative Guerrero,
Good.
Representative Lizama,
Yes.
Representative Manglonia, Representative Probst,
Yes.
Representative Christina Sablan,
Yes.
Representative John Paul Sablan,
Ungan.
Representative San Nicolas,
Yes.
Representative Staffler,
Yes.
Representative Youngtamay,
Aware.
Representative Yumo,
Hanggan.
Representative Manglonia. Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, 19 members present voted yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With 19 voting in favor, House Bill 22-71 hereby passes the House. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'll offer a motion for the passage of House Bill 22-10, a bill for an act to prohibit the use of certain disposable food service containers. So move.
Thank you, Floor Leader. Motion has been made for the passage of House Bill 22-10, and it has been seconded. Any discussion on the floor? Ready? Okay, Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Bada,
Yes.
Representative Patel,
Yes.
Representative Selena Babalta,
Okay.
Representative Sheila Babalta,
Yes.
Representative Blanco,
Yes.
Representative Joel Komatsu,
Ungan.
Representative Vicente Komatsu,
Yes.
Representative Demapan,
Good.
Representative Flores,
Yes.
Representative Guerrero,
Good.
Representative Lizama,
Yes.
Representative Probst,
Yes.
Representative Christina Sablan,
Yes.
Representative John Paul Sablan,
Ungan.
Representative San Nicolas,
Yes.
Representative Staffler,
Yes.
Representative Youngtamay,
Aware.
Representative Yumo.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, all 19 members present voted yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With 19 members voting yes, House Bill number 22-10 hereby passes the House. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'll offer a motion for the passage of House Bill 22-18, a bill for an act to amend Division 4 of Title 6 of the Commonwealth Code relating to disposition of offenders and sentencings to provide criteria for imposition of enhanced sentencings of defendants for crimes motivated by hate. So move.
Second.
Thank you, Floor Leader. A motion has been made for the passage of House Bill number 22-18 HD1 and has been seconded. Any discussion on the floor? Recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank our Ways and Means Chairman, Donald Maglonia, for championing the CNMI's first hate crimes enhancement law. It is fitting, colleagues, that we would act on this during Pride Month. This is a piece of legislation that is of special importance to the LGBTQ members of our community, as well as for other protected classes of citizens and for our community at large. We are blessed to live in a mostly kind and loving community, but sadly there is ignorance, there is hatred and racism, and there have been crimes here in the CNMI motivated by hate against members of our community merely because of who they are or particular characteristics they may have, whether it's their gender identity, their ancestry or national origin, their disabilities. In passing this bill, colleagues, we make it clear that the CNMI is no place for such hatred, and that there will be enhanced penalties for criminal acts that are driven by prejudice. And in doing so, we join the rest of the nation and so many jurisdictions across the country that have already embraced this same message and policy. Thank you, and I yield. I'm ready to vote.
Thank you, Representative Tina Sablan. Any further discussion?
Ready.
Ready? Okay, this is for the passage of House Bill 22-18 HD1. Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Bada?
Yes.
Representative Pato?
Yes.
Representative Selena Babalta?
Hindi.
Representative Sheila Babalta? Representative Blanco?
Yes.
Representative Joel Komatsu?
Okay.
Representative Vicente Komatsu?
Yes.
Representative Demapan?
Hungan.
Representative Flores?
Yes.
Representative Guerrero?
Good.
Representative Zama?
Yes.
Representative Probst?
Yes.
Representative Christina Sablan?
Yes.
Representative John Paul Sablan?
Hungan.
Representative San Nicolas?
Yes.
Representative Staffler?
Yes.
Representative Yankama?
Aware.
Representative Yumo?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, all 19 members present voted yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With all 19 voting yes, House Bill 22-18 HD1 hereby passes the House. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe I skipped one. I'll go back. I now offer a motion to for the passage of House Bill 22-12, a bill for an act to amend 4 CMC 51420B to authorize the Secretary of Commerce to establish and promulgate reasonable registration and permitting fees through adopted regulation and for other purposes. So moved.
Thank you, Floor Leader. A motion has been made for the passage of House Bill 22-12 and has been seconded. Any discussion on the floor? Ready? Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Bada?
Yes.
Representative Pato?
Yes.
Representative Selena Babalta?
Hindi.
Representative Sheila Babalta? Representative Blanco?
Yes.
Representative Joel Komatsu?
Good.
Representative Vicente Komatsu?
Yes.
Representative Demapan?
Hungan.
Representative Flores?
Yes.
Representative Guerrero?
Good.
Representative Zama?
Yes.
Representative Probst?
Yes.
Representative Christina Sablan?
Yes.
Representative John Paul Sablan?
Hungan.
Representative San Nicolas?
Yes.
Representative Staffler?
Yes.
Representative Yankama?
Aware.
Representative Yumo?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, all 19 members present voted yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With all 19 members voting yes, House Bill number 22-12 hereby passes the House. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am going to skip a couple of because I believe we have people from the Department of Health and CHCC that's still waiting for the bills to be passed. So if I could move to the that House bill, if there's no objection, I would like to offer a motion for the passage of House Bill 22-54, a bill for an act to update the definition of tobacco products in the CNMI's excise law, bringing tobacco tax rates to the recommended level, set tobacco rates to increase with inflation, and invest in tobacco tax revenues in health promotion and disease prevention and control programs in the CNMI and for other purposes. So move.
Thank you, Floor Leader. A motion has been made for the passage of House Bill 22-54 and has been seconded. Discussion on the floor. Recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, this bill to update our tobacco taxation law is the product of many months of collaboration and interagency review. And I want to specifically thank the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation, the Division of Finance, and particularly Customs, as well as Revenue and Taxation, the Office of the Attorney General, and the Department of Commerce for their hard work and partnership in drafting and fine-tuning this bill. I'd also like to thank our colleagues in the Ways and Means Committee and Chairman Donald Maglonia for their prompt and diligent review of the legislation and the comments received. And special acknowledgement to Representative JP Sablan, a former customs guy himself, who has championed legislation since the previous legislature to update the definition of cigarette to include little cigars and close a tax loophole that has resulted in the loss of revenue for the Commonwealth. While we were working on House Bill 2254 with the agencies and looking at comprehensive amendments to the tobacco tax law, Finance specifically asked that this updated definition of cigarette and little cigar be included, along with a special fund for tax collection and enforcement to be shared between Customs and Revenue and Taxation. From the health and welfare perspective, this bill makes other important changes to the law. First, it raises the tax on tobacco to meet the evidence-based rates recommended by public health policy experts, including the World Health Organization and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and it allows those tax rates to be adjusted with inflation. This bill follows the recommendation of Customs to raise the tobacco tax by 50 cents every year for 6 years, and thereafter to adjust the tax with inflation based on the Consumer Price Index. Numerous studies, as we've heard from our health advocates, show that tobacco tax policy has a direct effect on tobacco consumption, and increasing tobacco taxes reduces that consumption and improves public health outcomes. Colleagues, we know too well the terrible toll that tobacco has had on our community, from the loved ones we have lost to diseases and other conditions associated with tobacco use, including cancer, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. Second, in addition to updating and clarifying the definition of cigarette, this bill updates the definition of tobacco substitutes to specify that these are products that contain nicotine. This is consistent with the definition for cigarettes and clarifies that products that are not tobacco and do not contain nicotine, such as hemp products, should not be taxed at the same rates and treated as if they were tobacco. Third, in addition to designating 5% of the tobacco tax for collection and enforcement, this bill directs 45% of tobacco tax funds to critical health programs, including tobacco cessation and health promotion, prenatal and maternal care, school health education programs, and public health data collection, research, monitoring, and evaluation. Finally, as I stated earlier, this bill was drafted in cooperation with the agencies that would be responsible for carrying out its intent. I will also note, as has been noted in public comments, that an increase in tobacco taxes has been requested by the administration for at least the past 2 budget cycles and received broad and bipartisan support during last year's Fiscal Response Summit. So I ask for your support today, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Tina Sablan. I now recognize Representative John Paul Sablan. You. Okay, thank you, Representative John Paul Sablan. Any other discussion? Recognize Representative Ivan Blanco.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd just like to share that I'm a participant of the cessation program at the Department of Health. So, thank you. About 30 days, no bido na. So.
Thank you, Representative Blanco. And keep it up, keep it up. Any more discussions on the floor? Okay, ready? Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Ada?
Yes.
Representative Atal?
Yes.
Representative Selena Babalta?
Again.
Representative Sheila Babalta? Representative Blanco?
Yes.
Representative Joel Komatsu?
Hungan.
Representative Vicente Komatsu?
Yes.
Representative Damapan?
Hungan.
Representative Flores?
Yes.
Representative Guerrero?
Hungan.
Representative Lizama?
Yes.
Representative Probst?
Yes.
Representative Christina Sablan?
Yes.
Representative John Paul Sablan,
Again.
Representative San Nicolas,
Yes.
Representative Staffler,
Yes.
Representative Yantamay,
Aware.
Representative Yumo.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, all 19 members present voted yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With all 19 members voting yes, House Bill 22-54 hereby passes the House. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I now offer motion for the passage of Senate Bill 22-40, a bill for an act to protect the Commonwealth, the people of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands from per and polyfluoroalkyl substance PFAS contamination. So move. And HD1. Apologize.
Thank you, Floor Leader. Man, I even get tired when I hear you try to pronounce it. A motion has been made by the Floor Leader to pass Senate Bill 22-40 HD1 and has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, this bill was unanimously passed by the Senate and referred to your Health and Welfare Committee for review. Its primary purpose, as the title indicates, is to protect the people of the Commonwealth against PFAS contamination. Also known as forever chemicals, per and polyfluoroalkyl substances are known to contaminate the groundwater resources of our Commonwealth. In fact, the highest volumes of PFAS contamination in the whole country were found in wells here on Saipan. PFAS contamination has resulted in multiple wells being removed from service. There have been health advisories as well as significant costs to our public utilities and the people of the Commonwealth in mitigation measures. Your Health and Welfare Committee scheduled 2 public meetings and invited the agencies that participated in the drafting of this bill to submit comments and testify before the committee. These agencies included the Bureau of Environmental and Coastal Quality, the Commonwealth Utilities Corporation, and the Office of the Attorney General. Their written comments are attached to the committee report, and the oral testimonies of our witnesses are part of the committee record. We also received some very thoughtful comments from public health advocates and graduate students with the University of California at Berkeley School of Public Health and our Commonwealth 670. We asked the agencies to review and respond to these comments, which they did, and that correspondence is also provided with the committee report. So the amendments that were incorporated into this bill in House Draft 1 and which are presented to you today reflect amendments on which there was agreement by all the parties. This includes expanding the findings to take legislative notice of the environmental justice concerns that are raised by PFAS contamination in the Commonwealth, to make some technical corrections, and to include a definition in the operative language of the bill for PFAS chemicals. We understand from the Attorney General that time is of the essence for the passage of this bill because of pending litigation in which the CNMI is a party, along with other states and territories, against the manufacturers, distributors, and marketers of PFAS chemicals. We need this legislation to authorize the agencies, BCQ in particular, to set and enforce limits for PFAS and create a cause of action for PFAS violations that the Commonwealth may then use to amend its complaint to include these violations. If the CNMI prevails in this litigation, any damages obtained will be extremely helpful in funding ongoing and costly mitigation measures that CUC is undertaking now to protect public health, and also, hopefully, may be used for research and monitoring of the impacts of PFAS contamination on our community. So colleagues, we ask for your support today so that this legislation may be expeditiously enacted. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Tina Sablan. I recognize Representative Angel Demapan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And in follow-up to the chair, I also want to ask for the support for this bill. As many of you may know, I think 12 to 14 water wells in the Obzen area are contaminated with PFAS. That's the reason why there is no provision of 24-hour water in Obzen for the residents living there and the ranchers that are back there. So currently the water is being supplied to Obzen from San Vicente, and that is only for a couple of hours a day and very low pressure. It should not be an excuse when 14 wells are sitting behind the backyards of residents there. So I'm hoping that with the passage of this legislation and hopefully settlement of the litigation, that we can finally address the cleaning of contamination in Obzen and finally restore the provision of 24-hour water to that area. by the way, in beautiful Precinct 1. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Angel Demapan. Any more discussion? Ready? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Bada,
Yes.
Representative Bakal,
Yes.
Representative Selena Babalta,
Okay.
Representative Sheila Babalta,
Yes.
Representative Blanco,
Yes.
Representative Joel Komatsu,
Hunggan.
Representative Vicente Komatsu,
Yes.
Representative Demapan,
Hungan.
Representative Flores,
Yes.
Representative Guerrero,
Hungan.
Representative Lizama,
Yes.
Representative Probst,
Yes.
Representative Christina Sablan,
Yes.
Representative John Paul Sablan,
Again.
Representative St. Nicholas,
Yes.
Representative Staffler,
Yes.
Representative Yantaman,
Howard.
Representative Yumo,
Yes.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, all 19 members present voted yes.
Thank you, clerk. With all 19 members voting yes, Senate Bill 22-40 HD1 hereby passes the House. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe that's the last and I don't see any.
I think we have 22-29.
Oh, that one. 22-20. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I apologize to the member. It's so scratched on my notes here. I now offer a motion for the passage of House Bill 22-29, a bill for an act to amend 1 CMC subsection 121 in order to eradicate the unconstitutional public purpose presumption for legislative expenditures. So move.
A motion has been made by the floor leader for the passage of House Bill number 22-29, and it has been seconded. Discussion on the floor. Recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill, colleagues, corrects a long-standing problem in our law, our public purpose law in particular, and that is the unconstitutional blanket presumption of public purpose for legislative expenditures. So why is that a problem? First, Article 10, Section 1 of our Constitution mandates that public funds must be expended for a public purpose, and the legislature is authorized to define public purpose. The legislature did so with Public Law 1184, the Public Purpose Definition Act of 1998, but then amended that law shortly thereafter with Public Law 12-2. And that amendment declared all expenditures authorized by rules to be for a public purpose unless proved by clear and convincing evidence that the expenditure was personal or political. And it is precisely that amendment that circumvents the framers' intent for Article 10, Section 1, and undermines the constitutional requirement that public purpose be defined by law, not by rules. And it sets the stage for misuse and abuse of public funds. Because that part of the law has been so vague, and because legislative rules over the years have also been vague, what we have seen, as OPA has put it, are ideal conditions for poor public accountability. And there is, unfortunately, a long history of legislative funds being poorly accounted for, resulting in unjustified and unconstitutional legislative expenditures, as the public auditor has found. Multiple public auditors, secretaries of finance, and advocates for good governance have raised this issue over the years and called on lawmakers to pass legislation that removes that unconstitutional public purpose presumption and specifically grants authority for the reasonable allowances that are permitted in the Constitution and to certify those allowances as public purpose. So this bill, 2229, is just the first of two parts to correct that problem. This bill is the simplest and the most straightforward correction, but there is companion legislation, House Bill 2230, that would grant and more clearly define the legislative allowance, and that bill is still under committee review, pending further comments from OPA and Finance, among others. I hope for your support, colleagues, when that bill comes to this full body as well. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Christina Sablan. Any further discussion? Ready? Ready? All right. Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Bada,
Yes.
Representative Bakal,
Yes.
Representative Selena Babalta,
Again.
Representative Sheila Babalta,
Yes.
Representative Blanco,
Yes.
Representative Joel Komatsu,
Hunggan.
Representative Vicente Komatsu,
Yes.
Representative Gamapan,
Good.
Representative Flores,
Yes.
Representative Guerrero,
Good.
Representative Lizama,
Yes.
Representative Probst,
Yes.
Representative Christina Sablan,
Yes.
Representative John Paul Sablan,
Good.
Representative San Nicolas,
Yes.
Representative Staffler,
Yes.
Representative Young,
Aware.
Representative Yumo,
Yes.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, all 19 members present voted yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With 19 members voting yes, House Bill 22-29 hereby passes the House. Thank you, members. I believe that takes care of the bill calendar. We now move down to item number 17, miscellaneous business. And in the last session, I did mention that I will have each chairperson give a brief summary to the members as to what's going on the committee level. There were questions just asking for, there were requests for updates in the last session. So as promised, I'll let that happen, and I will start with the chairperson on my left, and we'll move down. So Representative Ed Probst, you're up to bat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you, colleagues. Providing some updates with regard to our House Gaming Committee. I do want you to know that we are waiting for some additional comments. The author of the bill is more than welcome to be with me. I can discuss what we're asking and what we're hoping to receive. And we will work on it as soon as we receive these comments. We're also going to push them to get the comments to us soon. But other than that, I do want to explain that we have been doing our work in the Gaming Committee. We have all agreed from the Gaming Committee to perform an oversight, and the starting of that is sending out letters to different departments and agencies, public and private, and asking questions and asking for documents. We've had a few difficulties with that, and the next step is to move towards a subpoena if we are not satisfied with their excuses, so to speak. But certainly, with the collapse of the casino industry and the talk of offering another license, it is essential that we ensure that we learn from our past mistakes so that we don't repeat the same mistakes. We've seen the collapse of the Tinian dynasty, and now here we have IPI that is basically in a hole, and their license is suspended. But where do we go from there? People are asking, our constituents are asking, what are we going to do with that hotel that is never finished? It's a huge elephant that we just seem to ignore. But it is an eyesore. It will be more of an eyesore. And not only that, it's a hazard to businesses nearby. I don't know if you know this, but I was just informed of this about the cranes. Somebody was mentioning to me who's in the know and has his credentials that those cranes, because they have not been moving or whatever, if there is a typhoon or something, bad weather, it could fall. It could be damaging to businesses nearby. Not to mention, who would want to take over that hotel casino right now in its current state? So there are a lot of things that we have to discuss, not just with the gaming committee, but I want to ensure that we include all of you in this. And while we are looking for, of course, revenue generating bills, I've always stated that we have to proceed cautiously as we move forward. I was in a position where, with regard to IPI, that it was extremely frustrating to try and even give them an inch when they haven't so much as done what they promised. One of the things was, about the workers that have recently left. Some of them returned home with nothing, hoping to get paid. And then that's the promise that they will get paid once they get back home. They're repatriated and back home. But that's not the case with previous workers who left back to the Philippines who are still waiting, who still WhatsApp me and message me, is there any chance we're going to ever get paid? These are huge concerns, and if we are to move forward if we are ever to move forward with another casino, we have to ensure that we make the right choices. Thank you. Any other comments? But please, my office is always open to you, my dear colleagues, and I'm more than happy to discuss with you any concerns that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Probst. Representative Sheila Babauta, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I chair the Committee on Natural Resources. We do have 5 bills in our committee. We have completed public hearings on these 5 bills on the island of Rhoda on May 7 and on Saipan on April 21st. We are going to reschedule the public hearing for these 5 bills on Tinian for June 25th. And that will be the last of the public hearings to entertain the 5 bills in the committee. And then the committee will come back and we will further discuss possible amendments for the 5 bills. We also did complete a successful joint committee meeting with the Committee on JGO to discuss Executive Order 2021-09, and that is the restructuring that's happening in the government, moving the Division of Quarantine to the Department of Finance. And so I would like to thank the members of both committees for attending, and for our guests who attended that day, Director Mofnes of Customs, Secretary Atalig, Secretary Tony Beneventi, and Dr. Dela Cruz. And so the next step for our committee would be the public hearing on Tinian. And if there's anything else that the members have questions on, please feel free to contact me. Otherwise, we will wait to complete the public hearing, and then we will come back together as a committee, discuss all the comments we received. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Chairwoman Sheila Babauta. Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So for the Health and Welfare Committee, this has been a busy and productive 6 months. We've conducted briefings with the COVID-19 task force to monitor the government's COVID-19 response, with the Office of Grants Management and the Housing Corporation on the rental assistance programs that have been made available by federal COVID-19 relief monies. We did a tour of the Hope Recovery Center up in Marpi, and were able to ask questions with the special assistant and the staff there, and just learn more about their program. And then we've conducted a number of meetings with the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation on options for universal health insurance. They recently submitted a report to the committee, and in compliance actually with the directive that they were given in the Budget Act for this fiscal year, Public Law 2135. And in addition to universal health insurance, we also covered their legislative proposal to establish a prescription drug monitoring program. And we've had meetings with Medicaid. In May, we held a series of public hearings on Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda on reforming the medical referral program, including inter-island referrals. We received testimonies from 11 government witnesses, including medical referral, CHCC, the mayors and health center directors on Tinian and Rhoda, the special assistant for administration, the Secretary of Finance, and one of the finance directors, as well as comments from members of the public. And there is draft legislation underway and likely more rounds of dialogue with stakeholders to review and improve that legislation before introduction. And if any of you are interested in being in the working group on medical referral, please let me know. We welcome your participation. 6 bills have been referred to the committee, and we've invited comments for all of them and had public meetings on them. We've thus far reported out on 2 of the referred bills, both of which have passed this House. One is to remove term limits for healthcare, for the Healthcare Professions Licensing Board, and to protect the people of the CNMI from PFAS contamination, which we just passed today. Tobacco tax legislation was referred to Ways and Means and not the Health and Welfare Committee, but it was the product of health and welfare work and one of our legislative priorities. And I want to thank you, colleagues, for your support of that bill today. Coming up on June 30, as part of Pride Month, the Health and Welfare Committee is hosting an LGBTQ policy roundtable that will include advocates from Pride Marianas Youth, the Tea Project, PSS, CHCC, and others. Advancing the health, equality, and well-being of LGBTQ people in our community is also one of our committee's legislative priorities. The Hate Crimes Act that just passed today was one of the legislative measures that we supported. And there are others in the pipeline under consideration that will be explored further during this roundtable. Colleagues, you are all invited and welcome to participate. That will be June 30, 9 a.m. here in the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Tina Sablan. Recognize Representative Selena Babalta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good afternoon, colleagues. It is the philosophy of the JGO committee to prioritize bills that are referred to the committee. We are not nitpicking. With the help of the Vice Chair, Vice Speaker, we have scheduled JGO meetings throughout the month of June and July to try and deliberate on the bills. We are being judicious and sensible in our deliberations of these bills, but it would help the committee extremely if the authors of the bill would attend the committee meetings and defend their bills, and aside from that, provide due diligence on their research on these bills as we come to understand why and how these bills are being proposed. And I say that because some of the bills proposed are actually unenforceable, so we're still deliberating on that. We're trying to fix the bills and make it better, but with the help of the authors, I invite you guys to come and attend the JGO meetings and help us work with us, the committee members, to make these bills better. But as you can see, some bills were actually passed out of committee and were voted on today. We have about 24 proposed bills that are in the committee, and they are calendared for the upcoming 2 months to be deliberated on. And with your help, we hope to facilitate the passage of these bills through the JGO committee. And I can answer any questions you may have about any particular bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Selena Babalta. I now recognize the chairwoman of the Committee on Education, Representative Leila Staff.
Thank you, Chairman, and good afternoon, colleagues. We actually have an Education Committee meeting on Friday where we will be going through the 2 Senate communications, the one that was tabled from the last meeting and the most recent one. One is specific for something regarding NMTI, and another one is regarding the PSS board. You're welcome to join any Education Committee meetings that we will be having. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Staffler. I now recognize Representative Richard Lozano.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you, members. Chairman of the PUTC. I've been attending a lot of this CUC meetings, board members meetings. And of course, you mentioned Rep. Limapan about the wells that they have in Ocean Beach. They do have good wells in the airport area, and they're just waiting for property designation there. That MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, to get those wells used by the CUC. But I do have 2 bills that just came to my desk this last session, and I'm waiting for their comments. And some comments are not really good, but the meetings. The committee will have a meeting since our calendars are so tight now. So believe me or not, but we will conduct our meeting early in the morning because that's probably the best. Right now, that's the only open slot. It's like 8 or 8:30 in the morning. That's about it I can tell right now. And so just be aware that there's 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Lizama. I now recognize Representative Yang Tamai.
Thank you, Chair. So Speaker, I'm the Chair for Commerce, Tourism, and Cannabis. And I forgot to thank you for your definition for tobacco, because that also defines what hemp is. People have been calling about hemp and the tax on hemp. Thank you. And so we have um, several bills that we are awaiting comments on. The one on plastic bags, the alcohol online and SAFE. And then we also have, we passed two today. Thank you. That's the one for CEDA, no? CEDA and the one by Rep Blanco. And yeah, the styrofoam. Thank you. Banning of styrofoam. And there was a lot of reading. Thank you. I'm learning a lot. And I've been making a lot of mistakes also, so it's good. I sent out comments on a different bill that does not belong to the committee. So mistake. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Thank you for the lesson.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I now recognize Representative Vicente Camacho.
Thank you, Speaker, and hello, colleagues. Right now, I really don't have any bills enacted at the moment, but I do have a couple priorities that I'm working with, and one of them is the Veterans Cemetery for Road and Tinian projects. I'm still actually that was a project that I was working on when I was VA director once upon a time back in 2011 through 2015. Now that's a priority that I would like to see happen. My committee will be hearing about what my plans are on that. The other thing that I have on my priority list is the village commissioners. I would really like to speak on that just very briefly. This one, I'm still planning on these things. I'm still doing my research and my arguments for this. I think that this would be very interesting to put out here once again. The village commissioner, I remember, had been proposed back in 1998, but never made it out of the JGO committee. So I'm working on reproposing that again. Also, I had lunch with the outgoing commander for the Joint Region Marianas, along with the incoming commander. It was a very pleasant lunch, along with the Bureau of Military Affairs. I am awaiting scheduling to have a tour with the committee out in Tinian. And also the other painful issue that I'm looking into is PUA. As the standing committee chair for Federal and Foreign Affairs, I kind of took that upon myself to see what I can do to put some control on all this matter. And other than that, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Camacho. Miscellaneous, we're still under miscellaneous, so the floor is open. Recognize Representative Patrick Nicola.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to take this opportunity to thank all our good colleagues for passing House Bill 22-71 today. Once again, Suzu Masi, and thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Patrick. I just want to mention that our chairman for Ways and Means had to step out due to a Rhoda delegation meeting that he's going to be attending. The Vice Chair, Rep. Ivan, would you like to report on what's going on?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. There were about 15 House bills that were referred to the Ways and Means Committee. 5 were passed. The committee appreciates the member support of HB 22-54, which was passed today. There were two bills, House Bill 22-53 and House Bill 22-6 were incorporated into House Bill 22-48 and 22-54, which we passed today. Three bills were tabled with the understanding from the authors. One of them is the Garvey bond. Is that correct, Congressman Camacho?
Sir.
The other one?
Yeah.
The other Congressman Camacho. Thank you. And there's the contract worker fee revolving fund and tax amnesty bills. Those are my bills, which I had asked the members to hold on to. One bill has been addressed through funding to the municipalities from MVA, so there is no need to suspend the hotel occupancy tax. The remaining four bills will be addressed by the end of the month. The first is the excise tax grace period. Congressman Paul Sablan. The tax credit for food donations. I understand, Floor Leader, Yumu, that's your bill? Or Celine? Oh, my apologies, Madam Chair Babauta. That's your bill. And finally, the infrastructure tax credits for cultural designs. I understand it's from Congressman Flores. And Mr. Speaker, members, that's about it on behalf of the chairman and members of the Committee of Ways and Means. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Ivan Blanco. Okay, we're still under miscellaneous. I recognize Representative John Paul Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I want to clarify and shed some light on allegations and accusations out there on social media and other outlets that are supported by members of this leadership that several members, including myself, have walked out on our last session. I want to set the record straight that I didn't walk out on our last session and that I have stepped out to answer an urgent call by a family member. There is no intention to leave the session, and such accusation and misleading information is inaccurate on our last session. I want to also set the record straight that I hold this office seriously, with sincerity, as elected by my dear people of Precinct 2. And since my inception into office back in 2012, I've never made any attempt or walked out on any session, as there is no reason to do so. I've always told you, Mr. Speaker, that I respect your leadership as well as every chairperson's leadership. But let's all be reminded by our wonderful inauguration speeches about putting political lines aside, political differences aside, working in a bipartisan way for our people. Let's just do that, and let's stop these petty political tactics, and let's get to work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, I also want to thank you for the update from every chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative John Paul Sablan. I recognize Representative Lipan Guerrero.
Si Diyos masi, Mr. Speaker. Puro da may kwento sige pinagsamoro sa basal patop naman kung walok kino, Mr. Speaker. Ani waksa kanayo ganda miscellaneous po uno na artikulo. Unagan na tafan recess. Matatsunzo gini Dantin recess piskolo jo za mano jo para ikwatukku. Under recess sa tarabya. No timatu igwadyanistina chamber gatu gi sinao za pabay masangani na maray kumbina tati isusyon. Ipraktiko hindi ta chotsogwi. Ta kurerei tau i kongresa halum gini. Tati pata reconvene. No tadza. Pues para bay masalista papa na mamokkat sa ujung. Tadza ni mamokkat. Sa zao gumira. Zao dumibati. No enne pa bay pasalista ujung. ti officiok ko na klase, Mr. Speaker. Man nyata titanus niya na si man ujung gino gi media. No tawza zo formation afa na mamokka ujung. No ti mamokka ujung. Sa recess gini mamokka ujung. Japata sigis ti komundona na klase na aktibidad sinya ajo loki. Bai sigi sumangan no tienno zo na tauto. Sa ti jauh manyangan put tauto. Tafan macucu. Tafan dibati. An makpo isti si Shortan no. Tafan amiga, manung familia. Sa tau-tau-taunuit. Inigi man mafanawit. Tafan akomplasi. Pues ene masangan Mr. Speaker na mamokka jujung. Dispensa sa ti mamokka jujung. Recess ijun ni mamokka jujung. No ti busca jo mag giofsinaw na pabaybira jo tatti. Pues na Mr. Speaker pabay na klaro sa kada inanaw kariraw gano hujong mafanaan jo na jaw mamokkat gido lang sesyon no tieno fisoku no kumo madispatsa mon da ma-check jo giofsinaw ni gagayga jo baybira jo halum no taza no mottu. Pues vena clara paramju membros na ti mamokka jujung. Idurantin recess ni mamokka jujung. Si Jus Masi, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Lipan Guraru. On that matter, I did bring up, and this was my concern too in the last legislature when they updated our phones. Unfortunately, we don't have access to the intercom like we used to, where we could just easily dial that in, and our phones are just on during session or even committee meetings. I've spoken to our IT, and we're going to look into how we can either get that going or have something up here so that when I do call a session, of course, we're allowed to step out. And when I'm about to call back, I could just page all the offices. So yeah, I mean, I know some staff have the session live on their computer or their laptops, but sometimes the audio is not loud enough, like the intercoms we had in the past couple of legislatures. So I did, also share that with people because I did get asked, why did you allow them to walk out? I'm like, I didn't. It was recess. It was their right. One of the issues we're facing is we did upgrade our phones, and we're still trying to figure out that feature to have that intercom availability in our offices. So I just wanted to note that for the members. Thank you. Floor is still open for miscellaneous. Representative Angel Demapan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'm 1/4 of the alleged walkout quad. And I just also want to set for the record that I've already responded to questions from the public, from our legitimate reporters and those aspiring to be reporters. But for the record, I just want to also state that I must have been first to leave this chamber, so I don't know where everybody else went. But yes, it was recess, and I did go to my office, and I did not make it here before the adjournment. And obviously, we were in miscellaneous during the recess and after the recess, so it was adjourned shortly thereafter. But I do want to thank you, Mr. Speaker. One of the legitimate reporters informed me that you were interviewed and you clarified to that reporter that there was in fact no walkout by any group of representatives in this chamber. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Aldan. Any more under miscellaneous? I mean, Demapan, I'm sorry. Any more under miscellaneous? Representative Sheila.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It sounds like we need a retreat. So I would like to recommend that we have a 22nd Sinamay legislature retreat, or even gathering lunch, dinner. we don't really gather outside of this chamber, and I think that would be very helpful with forming relationships, talking off the record, and really staying true to all the speeches that we made during inauguration, so that we can also see each other in different capacities as fathers and daughters and sons. And so I know that is something that this leadership has talked about, and I just wanted to make that recommendation again for the record, so that we can come together outside of the chamber. On another note, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, I would like to make a recommendation to the chair of the FFA committee, Rep. Camacho, to FFA Rep. Camacho. Hi. I've just been informed that meetings have begun again about the CJMT, the CNMI Joint Military Training, plans for live fire training on Tinian and on Pagan. And, we have been informed that many trips and activities are happening on the island of Pagan. And so I really would like for you to reach out to the Military Bureau of Military Affairs Director Glenna Sakisat, and please offer your support or your assistance and see if you can attend the meetings, to keep us updated on those plans. The NR committee is still moving forward with chartering a trip up to Pagan as a collaborative effort with other members in the community, and so I would also like to offer that to you and your committee, just so that you can have that opportunity if your schedule does permit, to inspect or just view the islands of Pagan and see what is on the table when these kind of negotiations are taking place. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Sheila Babauta. Any more? Representative Ed Probst.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. I wanted to just do a short comment with regard to the overtime of cabinet members that has appeared in the newspapers. The Attorney General has come out and has stated that that letters have gone out and that he's going to be, I guess, collecting on the overtime. Needless to say, if you think back, for those of you who served with me in the previous legislatures, that we talked about this quite often. In fact, it was not just on social media, but in newspapers, in editorials, in privileged speeches here. Many a time it was brought up. And I guess there's an old saying, better late than never. But what is surprising is that instead of ensuring that cabinet members do not receive overtime moving forward, we are being asked to amend the law to allow them to receive the 2.5 overtime. And colleagues, please know, the reason why I'm concerned about this is because I've heard comments that the legislature, we didn't do anything after U2. And I'm sorry, but my colleagues, everyone that served, you guys know this, that you went out to your respective, not only to your respective precinct, but you went well beyond that. I'm not the only one. Obviously, there were so many of us that went out and we'd meet up. And it was a time that we helped others, worked on weekends, worked evenings. A lot of us didn't have power or whatever, but it was a collaborative effort. And I just ask this to you, my dear colleagues, how many of you received a penny of overtime? This is nonpartisan. This was one body that went out and helped others in the face of a devastating super typhoon, one that we have hoped to never see again. But I appreciate each and every one of you for your heart and your kindness in doing that. That is what public service is about. Your call to public service. You are here representing your constituents, the people of the Commonwealth. Certainly not for the money. Because I swear, if we were getting paid what some of our our counterparts, appointed officials in cabinet were making right now, I think life would be pretty good. It'd be a lot better. I know it'd be better for my wife. But those are the sacrifices each and every one of us knew we would take when we came into office. And when we pass in the halls or we do have conversations, we often talk about how tight our wallets are or our purses. These are indeed tough times. And it is tough times for us as well, because we are not immune from giving out Tsintuli. It's the truth. In fact, we are often hit up everywhere we go, and we give what we can. And we have talked about that. But I think our constituents know that whatever we give comes from the heart. And speaking from the heart, I do want to say that my office continues to be open. I sincerely back up and support Rep. Sheila's comments about having a retreat or even a happy hour, because in every single legislature that we've served in, we've always had some decorum, some sort of friendship that continues, and I appreciate that. That includes, when we have very heated battles and heated debates, that we can still shake hands and move forward. So I say that from the heart. I say that to my dear colleagues, and I apologize if you had hurtful words put on social media or whatever. But I do want to move forward, and I do hope we can continue to work together in the best interests of our Commonwealth. We are a separate branch from the executive branch, and I hope that we can continue to support each other, especially when it comes to good legislation. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, I yield.
Thank you, Representative Probst. Anybody else? Members? Ready? Ready? Okay, we move down to announcements. Any announcements? Yes, Representative Angel Demapan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was gonna do this in miscellaneous, but I'll turn it into an announcement because Rep. Lipan changed the mood there. So, for purposes of announcement, I just want to announce, really share that some of the members of the Youth Congress are here. The Youth Congress passed 3 bills today, so it's headed. Congratulations. So percentage-wise, they're a little bit in the lead of us. But anyways, I brought that up because it's gonna come up to the House for disposition. So just for floor leader especially to keep an eye out for their bills and bring some of their hard work to fruition. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Demapan. Anybody else? Announcement? Ready? 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 All right. We now move down to adjournment. I recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. With that, I offer a motion to adjourn subject to the call of the chair. So moved.
A motion has been made by the floor leader for adjournment and has been seconded. Discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. All opposed, please stay. The ayes have it. This session is now adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.